Blau und weiß sein Leben lang. Hallo meine Leute. Willkommen zum dem einzigen Schalke Podcast auf English. That's right, folks. Officially the world's only English Schalke podcast. This is episode 117 of SchalkeMerica. I'm your host, Richard Kharman. I want to give a quick shout out to Critical Winking on YouTube for the correction. If you missed the correction, start from the beginning of the show and you'll hear it. I'm sure of that. Joining me as always is co-host Jack Mangan. How are you doing, Jack?
Doing well, Richard. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, considering. I guess it's a cold, wintry winter here in the East Coast, but it's nothing like where you're from, so I really shouldn't complain.
We are supposedly about to get another 5 or 6 inches tonight on top of what is already a considerable amount of accumulation on the ground right now. So definitely not looking forward to that. But I keep telling myself that we're in mid-February, so there is a slight chance that within just like maybe a month's time, it could be possibly nice. But I mean, it's Chicago, so I wouldn't bank on an early March spring.
I have a better chance of that than you do.
Maybe, yeah.
So before we get into the meat of the podcast, I do want to give a shout out. I did mention Critical Winking here on YouTube, and he paid us a big compliment on YouTube, which I want to make sure I give him time to acknowledge this. So he comments, first I'll shout out to everyone who's listening on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, everything, and those who are going to listen on the podcast later. But the comment goes as such. Thanks for doing the podcast, Richard and Jack. I'm from Germany and had been looking for an addition to my Schalke podcast 3 years ago. Wanted to find something that would add some kind of outside perspective and found you guys. Didn't take long to find out that there was a little bit of a different perspective coming from the U.S. Don't take that as an offense, but I was somewhat surprised by how well informed both you guys are and how on point you guys are, even so much so that you ended up becoming my favorite Schalke podcast. So thank you to that. But then he also corrected us on our intro of the podcast. Our German was slightly incorrect, and so we appreciate that, and hopefully you heard that. Thank you for that, Jack. But yeah, big words from some of our listeners there. Means a lot to both of us, for sure.
Richard, all this time I thought you were the foreign language expert, and yet here we are, 3 years in, and you're a fraud. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah,
I feel like I don't even know you anymore. But
yeah, I mean,
no, but thank you for, to that individual for the kind words. That's really nice to hear. So it's great to hear that we're not just in an American bubble necessarily. There's people that from all over that maybe sometimes are able to get some value from this podcast. It's nice to hear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And some of the value, I think we kind of preluded to this last podcast, Jack. Right at the end, we reminded folks that, hey, there's this rumor that Nabil Bentaleb may be inserted back into the lineup and what that could mean and how we felt about that. And then lo and behold, shortly after the podcast, the news broke that Nabil Bentaleb is back in our lives in the starting team. Your thoughts?
There's so many angles from which to dissect this and look at this, and from some angles this move looks better, and from some angles it looks worse. But ultimately, the point I was making on last week's podcast, which is the point I've made in regards to several of the Harit suspensions and the Bentaleb suspensions in the past, is that this last one for Bentaleb, I mean, the quote was literally, "It is like clear that the Schalke and Nabil Bentaleb are not compatible."
Right.
Like, this relationship is over. We're not compatible. We're going to sell him in the summer at the absolute latest, but we're going to try to get him out in January. And the idea that in the space of, just a couple months here, he can go from clearly not compatible to like, we need this guy back in the starting lineup. To me, it's either showing that, what he did previously wasn't actually, worthy of a suspension, and that it was unjustified because, if it was truly like that bad, you would hope that they would stick to their guns or whatever, as opposed to falling back on it. But if it was justified, then it's showing that, they're not sticking to their principles when things get tough, and they go back on decisions which may have been the right decisions purely for sporting interests. From the sporting perspective, it obviously makes a lot of sense if his teammates want him back in, and I mean, he certainly brings some quality to the midfield that we've been lacking at times. I've been talking about in recent episodes about how that Stambouli Mascarell pairing as a holy midfield pairing probably isn't ideal. Yeah, if Bentaleb's going to be in one of those spots, I think it makes us better. I think it really does. But it's just disappointing to see this flip-flopping from the hierarchy. It really gives off the sense that we're projecting that we have no idea what we're doing internally in terms of like player management, squad planning, any of this. And it's just a bad look for the club. So hopefully it works out. Hopefully there's no further issues with him for the rest of the season, and the suspension is, in the past, and then we can sell him in the summer, whatever. And hopefully this is a success, but it's just frustrating to see this level of incompetency and the number of times we go back and forth on players and decisions like this. What are your thoughts?
Quick shout out to Jake. We see you, buddy, in the chat there. Yeah, it's an interesting one because it makes you think a little bit about how serious was it, whatever he did, compared to Ibisevic, right? Ibisevic was just terminated, done, right? Was it that much worse what Ibisevic did than Bentaleb? We don't know. It's still very quiet. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, because it's confusing. You tell people that this guy is not a fit. He's been suspended. Doesn't tell us why. And we are sitting there in the dark and think, oh, well, it has to be something bad, right? This is not the first time with him. It's been a chronic thing with him. And he is talented. But then all of a sudden to renege on that and then come and bring him back and say, hey, we need you back on the 11. I think it'd be ironic if he ends up becoming the savior of the team from getting us relegated. That would be interesting if that were to happen. But I digress. In terms of the sporting thing, I'm right there with you because I think at the moment there's two things we're lacking: passion for most of the players, and also a skill set that we're missing. Serdar and Harit have been mostly off this year. They're on and off. They're when they're both on, they're fantastic, but they've been mostly off this year, and we don't have another person who's a playmaker. And Bentaleb fits that mold, and I agree with you. We've talked at length about how Stambouli and Mascarell not really that great of a fit together. And I saw a little bit in this game that Bentaleb was playing a little bit further back to help out those two, and I think it does make sense. We do need another player in there, and hopefully he does stay on track and the team rallies around not only him, but all the additions that we've made. Hopefully Huntelaar gets healthy. It's very confusing, this whole move, but at this point, I agree everything that you said, especially the stuff in the back scenes that we don't know. They don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. But I think we need to do anything at this moment to stay from dropping. He, I think, could help us in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with that. I think he improves the squad, assuming he doesn't unsettle it. But it's the transparency issue. We still, as far as I'm aware, and once again, if we've missed this, please inform us. But it's still not particularly clear why he was suspended in the first place. Yeah. And then we've suggested that there's times it looks like there's decisions that are being made about certain players that are coming from the top and not necessarily from the managers. This is one that throws that back into the forefront as well, because when Christian Ghost came to Schalke, he basically said, like, yeah, Bentaleb's not part of my plans. I'm not really interested in Bentaleb. Does that make any sense? If you're getting hired in to save a team from relegation, why would your approach be, I'm not interested in even considering this? That to me comes across as Schneider said, hey, he's off the table. Yeah. Like, this isn't a thing. And Christian Ghost was like, cool, I'm not going to worry about it. But then he's here for a while. They get a couple games in and he's like, I need some effing quality in the midfield. And he's like, hey, because the reports are that Christian Gross was pushing for this, right? Yeah. So, I mean, once again, maybe it's true that Christian Gross just didn't want him from the beginning and then went back on that. But that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And it just feels like, people are inserting themselves in areas they probably shouldn't be. I don't know.
Yeah. Christian Gross was quoted as saying this week, I've got no previous history with Nabil. He's a good footballer. His integration this week has gone well. Now it's up to him to force himself into the team. This is obviously leading up to Union Berlin.
That quote, it's like, so then why wasn't that your approach initially? That quote sounds exactly like what he would say, like when he takes over the job, like, hey, fresh slate, I have no issue. I mean,
we heard that originally when I forget who took over for Tedesco or at what point this was, but Nabil was in trouble with one of the managers. New manager came in and goes, oh, I have no history with him, so I'm going to bring him back on. It may have been Hoop Stevens, but it's exactly. You expect to hear that from the beginning, and we didn't get that. And at least to Bentaleb's credit, he has come out and they've talked to him on interviews and stuff like that, saying, hey, we need to improve. He's been saying the good things, right? We need to get more balls into the box, get more quality opportunities. This is stuff that we're lacking in that kind of skill front. And I think he could help us tremendously in that regard. So we'll see what he can contribute. The first game, he was obviously tired after 60 minutes or whatever. You could tell he had heavy legs, but he needs to have a bit more experience going forward. We'll see what that comes with. So.
Just fingers crossed that it goes well and it ends up being the right decision. I think the early returns are probably certainly more positive than negative. So.
Yeah. Lane's on the chat. Hey, what's up, Lane? He says, the bit you mentioned, Richard, about avoiding the drop, I think it's hurting Schalke long term. I'd rather us plan for a financial recovery and bounce from Zweite Bundesliga than try to a bunch of short-term fixes that miraculously were to save us to get rid of. Yeah, I agree with you, Lane. And then Jake says, tale of two halves for Bentaleb. Thought he was bright spot in the first half. And a turnover machine in the second half. And I think with the tired legs, we saw that. But the rest of the team, Jake's right on point about that too. So, so we go right into the game against Union Berlin. It's a game, compared to the first five, the first 5 games to start the Rückrunde. Union is one of the 2 teams that we have a better chance of beating as opposed to Bayern, Leipzig, or Dortmund. So the lineups in this one were as such. And for the hosts, I should say, Karius is back in our lives. The blonde-haired Scandinavian or whatever you want to call him. He's in goal. They had a back 3 of Fredrik Knoke and Hubner. Midfield 5 of Trimmel, Gentner, Andrich, Ingvartsen, and Geiselman, and then up top they had Awani and Poyanpalo. Gesundheit. What was your thoughts on the lineup when they came out, Jack?
A lot of bodies in the midfield, and Matthew Hoppe going up against a back 3 on his own with minimal support. So definitely looked like it was shaping up to be a pretty difficult Union Berlin team to break down from that perspective, given how we usually line up.
Yeah, we were hoping that maybe they would be open up a little bit to help us give a little bit more penetration there. Union has not been playing very well as of late, but we came out with Fairman in the back with the back 4 of Kolasinac, Tiao, Mustafi, and Becker. Midfield 5 of Harit, Bentaleb, Serdar, Stambouli, and William, and of course Hoppe up top. At least with me, obviously Bentaleb is going to be the main thing you're going to notice right away. But Malik Tiao, I was pleasantly surprised to see him in there, and maybe it was part of his Nastasic being injured or whatever. But I thought Tiao played very well, looked very confident on the ball. Jack, what were your thoughts on our starting 11?
Yeah, you and I have mentioned that a couple times recently, wondering why we haven't seen more of Malik Chow recently. It feels like maybe Christian Gross, he just wasn't in favor with Gross when Gross took over. He was getting more of a run, I think, late into Manuel Baum's time at the club. But if he's able to play his way back into the side, that might not be a bad thing. Especially because we've seen that he's a little bit versatile. He's done a decent, serviceable job at left back and right back this season, as well as center back. And given the poor performances from a number of different players in center back, I don't think he's any worse than anyone else there, and probably better than Mataj Nastasic at this point, you would say. So I enjoyed that as well. And then the Becker William double stack again on the right hand side, and then Bentaleb in the lineup as well. So and I feel like that could be the solution, because we keep talking about how Suat, at least for me as well, I don't prefer Suat Serdar as one of the holding midfielders, and I prefer if he's more in that number 10 role. When you have Bentaleb on the pitch, Bentaleb can play that holding midfield role, and that allows Serdar to be in that central space. And then, it didn't really work out in this one for a number of reasons, but I think there's potential there going forward.
Yeah, what I did notice in the game is that we had a lot of possession. Obviously, the game ended up 0-0. No goals in this one, but we had our opportunities. They had more opportunities. Despite all the possession we had, we ended up having something like 63% of the ball in this one. But if you look at the shots, 20-5, you never would have guessed it, right? They took their chance, their opportunities well. They made good things happen when they had the ball. We did not. We kept passing the ball around. This is kind of what Nabil was talking about, was that we needed to create more chances in the box, point and simple. And there was very few opportunities that we did create anything. I saw more from the defensive end because of Fairman, Becker, Tiao than I did see of anything offensively. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. There's one thing I wanted to address when it comes to our final third play as well, which is there was a lot of criticism from the commentators, and this is for the Sky Sports World stream that we're listening to in English. Obviously, not everybody's listening to the podcast would have heard that stream, but there's a lot of criticism of Harit in terms of him just dribbling too much and controlling too much of the ball and not moving it quickly enough, and just kind of being a ball hog and not involving his teammates enough in the final third. And I feel like, to some extent, that's justified. But when you're talking about Harit, you're talking about a guy whose game is highly sauce-based, right? And that's kind of what you're looking for him. Like, if he's not able to do that, one, he's not happy, which is going to hurt his motivation and his abilities on the pitch. We've seen that. And two, that's kind of his best quality. So if he's not doing those things, you're not really maximizing him. There is an extent to which it can be a little bit self-indulgent and probably hurt the team. And I think that did happen to an extent. But overall on offense, we're way too static. Like part of the reason that Harit is on the ball all the time is because he wants to be on the ball all the time, and he's taking that initiative, and that initiative is not being shown by nearly enough of the rest of the team. I thought Bentaleb in the first half was a player that was as well and seemed to be, popping out and trying to become available. Suat Serdar has been disappointing for most of the season, continue to be that in this game. He's a guy that you expect a whole lot more from. And yeah, we get into the final third, and there's a lot of ball watching. People just like to watch Harit dribble, and it's not entirely his fault if people aren't moving off of him and providing him with outlets. So I feel like I just wanted to talk about that briefly and see what your thoughts on some of the Harit criticism was, because I get it, but I feel like it was definitely overwrought in this particular case.
Yeah, and you could see, to your point, he was trying to move around to try to get himself free and create some opportunities. At times he would drift into the right-hand side, kind of like how he set up, I think, Buyaleb last week or whatever it was. So he was trying a little bit more, but, I did not agree with the criticism of him, but I thought his performance was lacking still. Not as bad as Serdar. I thought Serdar, it feels like ever since he's been called to the national team, he's been playing poor, it seems like. And I'm sure it's injury or something was involved in that, but has not been playing well. And then in this game, again, he did not play well. Harit was quieter than I'd like. My one criticism of Harit's going to be someone else needs to take damn set pieces. His set pieces are not good. And he's had some good ones this season every now and then where he puts it in a dangerous position. For the most part, free kicks and corner kicks, they're not good. And all they're doing is kicking to the other team, and they go on a fast break the other way.
And the thing is, they never really have been. There's never been a point unless I'm forgetting something in his Schalke career where you've been like, hey, he's really hits a good dead ball. He never has. And so the fact that he keeps getting those opportunities is weird. Obviously, if Mark Ut was in the lineup, he'd get some of those, and it wouldn't be Harit all the time.
Stasic, when he's in the lineup, he's actually a decent free kick taker as well. He's got a good shot, and he's also got a good passing ability. So
certainly missing Daniel Caligiuri in that respect.
Yeah, we almost relied too much on him, I think.
But so for example, there was a counterattack. This is one example. There's a counterattack opportunity around the 60th minute. Malik Chow stepped out, intercepted a pass, and then plays it to Harit, who takes off. Bentaleb is behind Harit. Serdar is behind Harit. Stambouli is behind Harit. Kolasinac is behind Harit. Harit sprints off into the midfield in transition. Everyone behind him is walking. Literally no one is attempting to get forward. He gets, collapsed on by four players, has no outlets because there's, maybe William was up the pitch and then there's Hoppy alone against three center backs. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about is like there was no initiative in this game. And like you're playing Union Berlin. This is a team that hasn't scored a lot recently. Obviously everyone scores against Schalke, but like this is not an offensive threat. So like you would say like, hey man, if we get one goal in this game, maybe there's a lower threshold offensively for what we need to get to win this game. And you just didn't feel like they sensed that or were trying to take advantage of it as much as they could have. And it was just out of sync as well. There's a lot of misplaced passes that were just unforced misplaced passes. Players not really having chemistry, like someone's making a run and it gets played behind them because they think they're taking a different angle. Just really weird to see us looking that out of sync at this point in the season. It was a strange offensive performance for me. And I think this has been pretty consistent from what I've noticed with Schalke, at least during this big run, ever since the winter pause from just before we beat Gladbach, right? Ever since then, we've been pretty static overall. To your point, Bentaleb was trying to move around, Hoppy was moving around, but after that, not really many people are helping out. Harit or whoever has the ball, and it's been very predictable. And if you watch any other team when they have the ball in possession, everyone's moving around, especially the teams that are scoring goals. Guys are moving around all the time. You have the roving away from their positions, and our team just seems to be static and say, "Oh, you give me the ball and I'll try to do something with it." Like, no, you need to run, make those runs. You see Hoppy trying to do that. Granted, it's against like three defenders and it's a hard place to get to him, but nobody else is helping him out. Nobody's helping Bentaleb out, and it's frustrating at that point because how are you gonna do better in the final third? If you're not moving, you have to be moving. It's like you see this in basketball in every sport. Constant movement distracts, disorients the defense, and then you get an opportunity. We're not seeing that, and that's to your point. Like, a guy like Harit can thrive if people are distracting the defense around him a little bit. Like if you make Harit the entire focal point of your offense, then just sit there and watch him. They're going to put 2-3 bodies on him. He's going to get beat up over the course of the game, and he's going to lose possession a lot because you have to work with him. And there was a point that was made by the commentary team that was like, there's three center backs. There's a lot of big bodies out there, like pass and move. And you can't just have black holes of possession where somebody's just dribbling around for a while. But the blame goes on the multiple people's shoulders there for sure.
Yeah, and these defenders were a lot less mobile than the ones we saw at Leipzig, right? Mukiele was all over the place, and all their defenders were all over the place. And these guys were a little bit more, slow-footed, and it was very predictable what they're going to do. But when no one else is moving around, it makes their job a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
And we got 5 shots off, but there weren't the greatest of opportunities. Most of them high and wide. So, we had I think a good opportunity late in the game, and I forget who it fell to. It may have been Harit, maybe
Buyaleb.
Oh yeah, it was Buyaleb.
Yeah.
And he missed that opportunity. So yeah, 0-0 that game.
The man who we've been apparently trying to play as a forward, showing us why that was probably not the best idea there. Yeah, it was a ball that was coming across his body from right to left, which he hit with his right foot and tried to curl it right to left into the near. Just everything he did on that was unfortunately probably the wrong approach and didn't even get it on frame. But I mean, to have 63% possession and have only 5 shots, none of which were particularly dangerous or on target or anything. And then, I mean, like Union Berlin were pretty terrible in front of net in this game, but they could have, with the chances they had a couple goals easily, I think, and it would have probably been justified. What's the striker's name? Aniwi. I forgot his name already. I apologize. Missed a couple like absolute sitters in this one, so I felt kind of bad for him.
Right at Fairman a couple of times. You're like, oh man, that could have been something right there.
Well, there was one like 2 minutes in the game that was the best opportunity that Fairman actually had to save. There was another one in the second half, I think, where he had 60% of the net to shoot at and could have just passed in the net and just dragged it wide, which was unfortunate as well.
I do remember that too. So I think we got away lucky. I mean, granted, any points in this stage of the season is going to be good, but we should have won that game. It's a game we should have won because frankly, it's going to be more difficult this upcoming game. Before we get to that, I did mention that Malik Thiaw I thought was a bright spot for Schalke. Obviously confident on the ball. Another bright spot I think was going to be was Timo Becker. I thought again he was solid back there. At times he jumped in at center back to show Mustafi how to play there. There's one play where I forget who's coming on the counterattack, and Becker basically jumped in Mustafi's spot. Like, I got this. Don't worry about it. You know what you're doing. And he stopped the ball. Becker's been solid. He hasn't been, like, at times you don't notice him, which is a good thing. He doesn't make mistakes.
He had like one bad moment really late. I think there was a cross where he lost his mark, and it was like a point-blank header that Fairman saved.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think you're right. I mean, in definition of a guy who's just kind of played his way into the starting 11, I mean, when he was initially getting right-back appearances, I don't think any of us would have been like, yeah, he's who we ideally want there. At this point, I think he probably is. I mean, unless you're going to play William back there and try that out again. But I think Becker's looked good, and he's improved his ability to contribute to the build-up play as well, which was one of the major things that was lacking, I think, previously.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for those who are keeping track, there was an appearance from former Schalke player in the 86th minute, Cedric Teukert. He made his debut. I don't know if it's a debut necessarily, but he made his appearance against us.
We broke a curse. The former player didn't score against us. I was the second he came out, I'm like, this game we're going to lose. We're going to lose because they always score against us. And fortunately, that did not happen. It would have been brutal.
Oh, that would have definitely been brutal. But not getting 3 points is also brutal. We walked away with a point. So we have now 9 points from 21 games. We sit 5 points back behind the Mainz, who are in 17th. And we are 9 points behind Armenia and Hertha, who are in 15th and 16th, respectively. And Cologne is at 21 points. So we're still 9 points really out of any kind of safety right now. We need to start winning games. And it doesn't get any easier, Jack, does it? Because we got the good old Riviera derby coming up here this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited, but because, anything can happen in these derbies we've seen in the past. A team who's always been in the least form has played well in every game, but except for us in the last couple of games. But Dortmund hasn't been playing that great lately. They're still Dortmund. We just got news today that Marco Rosa, the Gladbach manager, will be taking over Dortmund next season. Will that affect us next year? We will find out in the coming weeks. But this is probably going to be a boost for them, knowing that they have a pretty good manager coming in next year.
That surprised me, by the way. Did that catch you off guard? I'm surprised that Rosa jumped ship from Gladbach this soon into his sort of project there. I mean, I can't blame him if it's obviously hard not to view Dortmund as a step up, but like, it seems like he has an opportunity to really get something going there, and I'm surprised he moved that quickly.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he moved. I'm surprised he moved to Dortmund. I thought he would have gone to England or something like that.
Yeah,
definitely looking for step up because the way he's been managing over the last several years. I mean, he's crying for promotion, and Dortmund is a promotion But yeah, that was a little shocking to me to see him go there. And so, like I said, will it affect us or not? We'll find out. Jake says, a lot of these games where we have lots of possession, we're just crying out for someone like Huntelaar to play and get the end of that. And we, unfortunately, as soon as he joined us, he's been injured and we haven't seen him yet. Maybe we'll see him at the derby. I don't know how serious his leg injury is, but we need everybody who's available. I mean, we need to find a way to score goals. It's the derby for heck's sake. So yeah, it's a big game. We have 13 games left. Where are we at? 21 games now. It's 34 games. 13 games left. And this is a big game here against Dortmund. Well, were we expecting to get 3 points? No, but anything can happen. We hope to hell something because we need to get points. We need to get a minimum of 4 or 5 wins at least to make up the 9-point gap and hope. Armenia almost beat Bayern today for fuck's sake. What was it? They got 2-2 draw. They're up 2-0 in that game. So
3-3.
3-3. So sorry.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Mainz and Armenia and all the teams at the bottom are playing pretty good right now. They're giving people trouble. Cologne, they're starting to get some points now. Augsburg, Hertha is the only one that's really struggling. They've lost 4-5.
We can't score. We can't score. Once again, like 63% possession, whatever it was. A handful of shots, most of them bad. It is. That's got to change too. Our defense is still suspect, depending on how we're feeling that day. But overall, that's kind of gotten under control a little bit more, and the offense is just exactly kind of where we were at the beginning of the season. It's brutal.
Yeah,
that has to change.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So, yeah, the big game coming up this weekend. What are your initial thoughts? Obviously, it's a big game, mother of all derbies, as Derek Ray says.
Yeah, I just hope we get out of there with our pride relatively intact. The last thing we need in the midst of this is a huge psychological hit, getting beat up by our rival in the derby. That's not going to do anything to help the team, you would imagine. So, yeah, you would expect Dortmund to beat us, obviously, despite their recent, struggles. You would still expect Dortmund to take care of business. I just hope it's not, too definitive in that sense, I guess.
Yeah, we need. Obviously, they're going to get a pick me up with the news about Marco Rose taking over next year. But they have been struggling as of late, and it'd be nice to get a pickup for us if we get Huntelaar in the lineup somehow, because I think he can certainly bring help to that. He still has to be fed, right? Hope he has to get the ball. These guys need to get the ball to them. Hopefully, having Nabil Bentaleb in the lineup, maybe Harit playing better, Serdar playing better, will give them the opportunities that they need. I think if Huntelaar more so than Hoppy needs very few chances to score goals. He just needs a sniff of the ball and really he'll get it. He'll get a shot on target at least.
Also, if we're going to keep playing 4-2-3-1s and having Hoppy isolated, you need to have width and you need to have wingers that are actually able to occupy those spaces and play crosses in and that kind of stuff. We have no delivery from wide spaces, and he's just on his own that often. If that's how you're going to play in that kind of shape, then maybe you need to change it up and play 2 strikers, play Hoppy and Huntelaar together. Something and do a different approach, because what we saw in this game against Union Berlin, that is not a viable option going forward, in my opinion.
No, and it definitely isn't. And if we want to have, if there's any good time to get Dortmund, I guess it'd be now. We got our only win of the season against Hoffenheim. They drew them 2-2 over the weekend. They had pretty much all their studs out there, but they're just not in sync for whatsoever. So we need to take advantage of it. There's obviously weaknesses all over their lineup. They obviously have some talent up top, with Brandt, Reina, Sancho, Haaland. Whoever you want to put in there, Hazard, whoever. They can obviously score goals. We need to do more of what we did against Union Berlin, not the amount of shots given up, because if we give that many shots up, it's not going to be good for us.
Yeah.
But I think, controlling their quality opportunities is the key. Stepping up, blocking their shots. Don't let Haaland run from midfield all the way through and not get no body on him. Come on, the sausage.
Yeah, well, as long as the sausage isn't on the pitch, that probably hopefully won't happen. That last game was just infuriating when he scored that goal, because you were watching it happen from like 3 or 4 seconds out, and you're like, is anyone gonna step? Nope. Okay, that's
nope. Okay, there he goes. Goal.
Yeah.
There are rumors around in the Schalke fan Twitter sphere about doing stuff for the Riviera derby, obviously isolated and quarantined and fashion. But as we get more information, we'll tweet it out for you for sure. Another way to find out information is sign up for the Schalke US newsletter, and you'll definitely get the information before derby week here. What are your big what do you want to see from the derby from us?
A win.
Oh yes, absolutely. A win would be
Imagine
a win.
that.
Someone tweeted this out, and it may have been Schalke Club UK. I don't remember who it was, and I forgive me, I forgot. But they said, a win here in the derby could make our 2020 and 2021, because there could be 3 big points that we need. We need the points. And hell, why not kick them while they're down as well? We're really down, but bring them down with us. So, let's a win would be nice. Seeing Huntelaar would be nice. Getting some goals there, getting some goals. Period.
And if we do go down, it'd be nice to have sort of indefinite braggers' rights for the most recent victory in that series. Because I mean, there's no derby next year unless we meet in the cup or something like that. So
yeah. I'm sure the football gods would find a way to make that happen, right? If it were to happen, but I don't want to get to that point. Let's worry about staying in the league at the moment and doing what we can against Dortmund, walking away with our heads held high. It's going to be a difficult one, no doubt about it. And then the games get a little bit easier, but again, the teams that are at the bottom of the table that we're fighting with are playing very well. We need to step up our level at the moment. We are not playing. If you're looking at pure aesthetics, we are playing the poorest at anybody. So we shall see, Jack. Anything else you really want to chat about tonight before we get out of here?
Schalke put out a feature on Schalke St. Louis and the Amsterdam Tavern, which dedicated listeners of the podcast will have some familiarity with due to me talking about it every once in a while. Usually not going after I say that I'm going to, but a place that I have great affinity for, a nice little soccer bar. So definitely give that a read. I think they shouted out on Twitter. We probably retweeted it. So take a look at that.
Absolutely. No, that was actually a great feature. A nice little interview there with the Amsterdam Tavern. So definitely give that a read, and we'll retweet it again. We'll share it once again. And like I said, if you sign up for the Schalke US newsletter, you'll definitely get that information every month. So definitely keep on the lookout for that. And any articles that come up through Schalke, we'll make sure we share that as well. Comment Jake says, I'll tell you what, I don't want to see William at right side attacker. That's interesting.
So left side attacker. No, okay.
So this is how I feel. So I kind of, if you're looking at center backs, right? I want to see Thiaw again. I kind of want to see Becker back there. I mean, Becker's been doing really well at right back, but I don't know how William is going to do at right back. I'd rather see Becker on the pitch, period, than not on the pitch. And William has been disappointing so far as right attacker, and now part of that maybe him not getting the ball.
Has he been more disappointing than who else would be in that position? Schalke, possibly Builep. No. That's the one thing I'd say is just I could understand Jake having that opinion based on what we've seen so far. My question to Jake, and if he's still in the chat, would be who would you rather see there? Assuming you want to keep Becker at right back, then who do you put in? I mean, if you're gonna play the 4-2-3-1, Benito Rahman, I guess.
Yeah, and we saw that at the end of the game.
I didn't think he looked particularly good. I mean, I didn't think he looked particularly good either. It's just, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, we just didn't have a lot of options at this point, period. It's difficult to pick the squad. For sure.
Here's one, and he's not someone who typically plays in this position, but maybe Suat Serdar. Put him on the right side. In the middle, you could put Bentaleb with Stambouli or Omar Mascarell. That way, the left side could be, Harit, or maybe put Harit in the middle and Rahman out left with Huntelaar up top if he's healthy, or Hoppy. That could work. But then again, it goes back to the question: who do you want to right back? I'd rather have Becker than William. I want to see Becker on the pitch no matter what. And Thiaw, that's just me. Unless Sané is 100% healthy, and at this point, I doubt he is. We've heard the rumors that Paciencia is training again, which is great. Nice to have him on the bench as a possible,
Getting some fits off on Instagram as well.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, I'll tell you something else real quick. We are getting very close to the start of the free Bosduan campaign. Where is this guy? I mean, on the side of the milk carton, but besides that, where is he? I mean, what is going on? I mean, hey, if you have Bentaleb back in the squad now, and you have Harit and you have Serdar, and you want to play them, sure, fine, whatever. But if you're gonna play that, two holding midfielders, I think Bosduan could be one of them easily. And
Bosduan and Bentaleb?
Still, we do not see him. So yeah, he's gone away under Christian Gross, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's something about the youngsters is not getting an opportunity unless you're playing defense. Jake says he's in the chat. He says, "I'll take Rahman. I would also like to try to go on the left hand side more." Yeah, but then Harit's probably his best side is probably the left side and center. So unless you find a way to get Harit in the middle, I guess. But yeah, no, not seeing Bosduan is disappointing because we've talked numerous times that he's when he's on the pitch, he looks competent. He looks like he belongs in the starting 11. Very cool and collective on the ball, quick passes, strong on the ball, which not many of our guys are. And not having that out there for whatever reason. I don't know if it's injury or what, but that needs to change quickly. And then we're going to be, I don't know at what point, I don't know what the mathematics say in terms of, when it becomes definitive, if it becomes a definitive with the relegation. We'll have that ticker coming around sometime soon, you would imagine, if we don't turn things around. So let's go ahead and get a damn win here against Dortmund here this weekend. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no point in dragging us out for an hour, right? When we did the same thing every day. So the Bentaleb thing was a big thing this week, and he's back in our lives, and hopefully he can contribute at least going forward. So.
Maybe the time to finally get that Bentaleb interview.
There you go.
Finally get it in. I don't know if Schalke would trust us with that at this point, but we could try. We could try. We've almost had him on the podcast like 4 different times over the years, and now he's back in the fold. So maybe we can try. Try
once more. So yeah, we could definitely try that for sure. All right, keep tuning in each week as we bring you the latest from the Royal Blues. If there are any topics you'd like us to discuss, make sure you tweet us at SchalkeMerica. Give a couple of shout outs here. First shout out to Schalke for sending me a couple pictures here. We need we're going to try this series. We're not going to tell you exactly what it is, but Schalke did hook us up with some cool pictures that we can share with you guys in due time. So be on the lookout for that. Do want to give a shout out to Critical Winking on YouTube for not only his comments, but also our correction in our German. So thank you for that. And then lastly, give a shout out to a good friend of the show, Marie Schulte-Bochum. She was on the Transfer Exchange show. Make sure you watch that video where she talks all things Bundesliga. It's always good to see Marie. So definitely give that a watch if you haven't done so yet. Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
In this house, we stand Marie. That is a fact. We do.
I like it.
You can find me on Twitter at JMMangan, JMMangan on Twitter.
Very good. As always, you can follow me at R_KHARMAN. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you give a subscribe, like, and leave a comment. We much appreciate that. Until the next podcast comes, my friends, stay ready. Let's go for this derby this weekend, and we'll catch you soon. Tschüss.